Welcome to Answers from the Universe and the Andronicus transmissions on Wolf Spirit Radio, Ever Beyond Radio, and Studio 9 Jam on YouTube. With your host, Jessica Ariel Morocco, featuring JP as the voice of Andronicus. Please visit www.readingsbyrael.com, that's A-R-A-E-L.
From the future, by way of the past. I bought my ticket for the 15th century. We started moving through a hole in history.
You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Everyone, and thank you for joining us today at Answers from the Universe and the Andronicus transmissions. And here with JP to help read through the transmissions. And we have so many things going on today. We have Chris Jacobs, who's going to join us. It was really interesting that a while back I channeled Helios, and Chris has been channeling Helios for a couple years and actually wrote about it. So someone brought us together. I believe it was Saffron 414 brought us together. And so I thought I'd have him on the show today so we can have a bit of a discussion. And during the process of talking to him, we discovered that we had another mutual friend. I'm probably sure we have a few different ones, but we also have some tricksters out there too, talking here and there. So we're going to sort it all out today. And let's see, later on we'll have Conrad Zardervelt as well as Viking to join us. And maybe if we may have someone else come on, possibly if Audrey's around, you can give us an update of what's going on at Standing Rock. So I heard some really positive things from Audrey yesterday, and it's positive for all of us, isn't it? So every victory over there is a victory for humanity, and we see that as a victory for the water keepers, the earth keepers, and those that are here to support whatever's happening on the planet. The Ubuntu system, learning to barter and trade and find other ways beyond the money system that has been corrupted. And if there is another money system, at least that will not be Kabbalistically owned, and that we can continue to exchange and work in a way that is more in a positive flow for humanity. So there's no inequities involved, and everyone has everything that they need. Yes, I do have a bit of a cold, so sorry about that. Anyhow, let's get started. JP, how are you? Yeah. I put you right to sleep, didn't I?
Oh, no, I haven't slept yet. Well, I think I have slept. It might have been about like a minute, about 20 minutes ago, but I really haven't had a good night's sleep yet. So, but I've still got 6 hours of radio to do. So don't stress me because I might be snappy. Anyway, let me just check my microphone levels. Hang on. Because people have been saying that I'm overdriven, yet that's about right. Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. We need to get you some good rest, and I need to get rid of my cold. So
yeah, you need some sleep too.
I do. Burning the candle both ends. I stay up late doing earthwork with people. Trying to help the planet, and sometimes I'm helping clients. That's what we're here for. And it's a very crucial time right now. There's so much going on. It's very pivotal. We kind of have a little bit of momentum. We want to keep it going. So I'm not going to fully rest, I don't think, for a couple months, until I really I feel like we're more in the clear, and then I can take a little bit of a break. But until then, I continue on as many others are right now, trying to hold strong, and for those that are at Standing Rock also. It has to be very, very cold out there. Some people are wearing up to 7 layers of clothing, or just have some really good North Face or some other kind of Patagonia, whatever brand that is super warm and not as thick. But I know that they're still looking for help. Audrey said something about the GoFundMe for Muggsy, so if people want to send him money, that would be helpful, and whatever else is needed, but maybe we can get an update on that. And if it's not through my show, then Audrey will show up somewhere and we'll spare it and share that information. But, alright, so, would you like to get started, JP? We're gonna get started. We're gonna read through, Rhodan, and then we're gonna bring in Chris, cause he's gonna help read the part of Jonas.
Okay, here we go. There have been many disruptions, and I see that multiple channels are changing directions. Hang on, just a minute. With every adjustment, there is always a counterbalance of structure. Allow me to further observe some of the changes. Oh yes, Kraton has changed his positioning, and so has Borkum. What's Borkum doing by Primus? What is the tree there? I see. Can you talk to him? Borkum, what are you doing there by Primus? I was wondering why he still doesn't see me. Everyone else can see me except for him. It's the druids. They don't want him to see me. I know what you're up to, Luther. You can't hide your magic. It's as plain as day. Oh, don't you have something else you should be doing? Why are you troubling Primus now? Look, that Luthor character thinks he can outsmart us with his illusions. I'm going to take all of his power away, and then he will be up a creek for sure. Yes, I can see you're talking about. Luther, come out from there. This isn't your time or territory. What are you doing in Scotland? I thought you had a task to complete in London. You remember we insisted you correct the time anomaly in London. You created a horrible distortion there, particularly the transportation routes. You see, he's not responding and is very contrarian, deliberately ignoring us. Always thought he was conjuring power. Hear me now, Luther. You are in a place between time and nothingness, and I can send you to parts unknown. He's still not hearing you. Go on, Borkum. Take care of the matter at hand. I will make sure you're supported. Be careful of the unbridled energy. They can never handle a fraction of the power they desire. Oh, look. A tribal mark by the stone next to him. What's that doing there? Looks like he unwittingly created an inversion of time. That will need to be undone. We are sending in a few troops. We need to be careful what happens here. I'm concerned that it is booby-trapped. There could be some collateral artillery or response or enclosures of time unexpected. Wait. Do I see a yellow stone? Is that from... the vertigo stone. I see. So that's where it's been all along. It was taken from me. Well, Luther, you have a lot of explaining to do. I'm sorry, Suma, today is not a good day for a discussion. Tell your friends we will help take care of this for me. Tell your friends we will help take care of this for you. Keep me informed of what you see. Go now, Watchers, and report back to me. Oh, what's going on there?
It sounds like the druids had, they're almost like the timekeepers. They kind of go in and out of space. And they were supposed to be, Luther was asked to fix something in London that he had thrown off. And what crossed my mind was, the woman that wrote Harry Potter just going through the subway and getting all this information in the books. And I was like, there it is. There's that time anomaly that he put in there. It was Luther.
Yeah. So, did Luther appear last time? I don't remember Luther.
No, he's new. I've never seen him before either. Well, I've probably seen him, but I didn't know his name.
I keep thinking of Lex Luthor. You know, Superman's arch enemy.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
The bald guy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's when I think of Luther. I know it's supposed to be what was that, Martin Luther? Anyway,
Yeah.
where should we go next?
Well, we have, Chris is going to be joining us. And I believe I gave you his,
Yep.
unless we need to go to music while you get Chris Jacobs to join us?
No, it won't be hard. Here he comes.
Okay.
Hang on. There we are.
Hello.
Always works. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Chris.
How are you doing?
We're doing fine, Chris. Thank you for joining us today, and maybe you could tell people a little bit about who you are and the work that you do.
Yes, of course. I am technically a psychic, a healer in some respects, and also I do remote viewing, and I also do repair work to people's energy fields and such, and remove attachments and other nefarious beings from their environment.
Okay. And so, now we have a common thread. Probably was it about a month and a half or so ago, maybe 2 months, I don't know. But, we had, I channeled Helios. It was really strange. We were going back and forth on Skype with, JP and I, and Helios came through and I brought in the information and then we shared it, during the next show. And, someone in the chat room heard about Helios and they wanted to share it, and someone transcribed it, and then before you know it, they told me about you. So, you've been channeling Helios for how long?
I would say since between 2013 and 2014.
Okay. And so we also came together one day and we found different aspects of Helios. Both of us saw that, and that was part of the transmission. He talked about how he is coming to be as one, and or collecting, aspects of himself. And we had to. There were some of them that we found some different. Was it a micro reality or another alternate universe, or I don't know what it was, but we found some really strange anomalies, and we did some healing work on the space, or, help things come together. So that was interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I remember that the Cabal was trying to create a fractalized universe. They were trying to create a new Montauk jump point, and Helios froze an aspect of himself in there to be able to stop them from doing it. Yes, I remember that.
That was out of CERN, right?
Yes.
That was CERN, yep. And so, he was holding, everything was like time stood still, and he was kind of in the midst of time-space, holding on to what it looked like it was a vehicle, some kind of spacecraft.
Yes.
That both of us saw. Yeah, that was kind of in, that had collided with something and then had some type of mission, but then the mission had to be aborted, but these were, from Montauk.
Yes, yes. The Cabal was trying to recreate it, but it was like they were working off of only partial information in order to try to recreate it, and it wasn't perfect. They weren't able to create a jump point.
No. And these were not all humans, right? We figured out that they were also, star beings.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there were several other different races there, like some cat people, and I believe I discovered later on after you and I had been done speaking, there were Archons involved as well, somewhere in there.
Yeah, well, am I not surprised?
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be a little bit here and there, everywhere. And then as we were talking, we started discussing some other things regarding another person that we knew by the name of Jonas. Now, I've channeled Jonas here, And he helped me actually go into Agartha before and brought me into that space. And then you confirmed that he was connected to kind of an underground. You have what is it, like the back door you call it, or I don't know what.
Oh, yeah, Jonas, yeah, he originally came to me here in where I'm at in North Carolina and told me about some of his history. And he's been helping, me and my girlfriend Joanna actually, stop some of these negative forces from getting into our house. He seems to be able to do it without any effort whatsoever. So, and I've been conversing with him. Him and I have actually, worked quite closely with one another since I actually was introduced to him, a couple of months ago. It's been very interesting. And he's been telling me about some of these other back doors where some of these other entities come in through, like some of the dimensional circles, some of the past life circles, some of these other doorways that people are unaware of. The things I knew about, but he showed me more of them.
Yeah. So, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So we're finding, some of these different beings that are coming and speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And, anyhow, so I ended up talking to, after I talked to you today, Andronicus ended up mentioning, something that opened up the door for Jonas to come through. So, I asked you to join us so you can read the part of Jonas.
Okay. I can do that.
Okay, so do you have that in front of you?
Yeah, I will scroll up to where this begins. And let me see. All right.
All right, so just when the point of Jonas comes in, and you can read that part for us, I appreciate it.
Okay.
And you said he has a southern drawl.
Yeah,
So,
for me, he has a southern drawl. He has, it's fairly thick, but where I discovered him was here in North Carolina, so he could have been mimicking that too.
okay, so if you want to put in a southern drawl while you're speaking his lines, then that'd be great.
Okay.
Okay. JP, you want to bring in Andronicus?
So here's Cotton Eye Joe.
We'll play that afterwards.
Hello, my love. Hello, Primus. We're still in a desperate state that I dared not venture into. It is the future of your reality. I'm despondent. I've been so for some time. I told you once that I was John Titor, but I lied. I did know him and communicated with him regularly at specific times. My time is weary, and I am very weary. It seems that every experience I have becomes increasingly lackluster, and even worse, it is quite troubling. Suma, do you remember the time I came to you standing around with a strange hat, you called it? I was wearing a strange hat like a cap to cover the strangeness of my head.
Yes, I remember it. You were standing around with a bunch of men, as if you were in a meeting, and I was set back a bit because the cap seemed to be like a strange toupee. I could see a baldness or even a metallic top part of your brain. I was wondering about it. I thought, is he a robot? What am I looking at? Since that time, I considered that you, at some point, transformed into a cyborg. And the worst part about it was your sarcastic ways that were repelling to me. It was a smile, a rolling of the eyes, a sharp tongue, and a dismissing way that I couldn't stand to watch. Where was that?
It's in a place that I will soon be dismantling. You don't know that some of my cohorts have already visited you and are around you now.
What does that mean for me? A group of people or cyborgs from a future existence who are harmful to others and myself?
It's my fault. I could hear and see you, but I chose others to find you and see what you are doing. I see that they've made a mess of your life. I heard you complaining about it last night. I understand your frustration.
Well, why don't they just leave me alone? It's like they are psychic vampires. What do they want?
I don't really know. I had assumed that they would find you and report back to me. But instead, they seem to want to make your life difficult.
Is it because they are angry at you?
Oh, no, they're not angry at me. They were curious about you and your civilization, and it appears that they are taking advantage of you and others.
Are you going or planning on resolving these problems?
Oh, I can see now that I've caused you many problems by sending people to find you instead of going myself. Even still, I cannot see you. I chose it to be this way. I also see that it's changing the timelines in the wrong direction. I see that this causes the cataclysmic events that brought this future situation to where it is now. As I stand here in this metallic biosphere where very few things can thrive.
Do you think that in some way they're trying to retain their existence? It is a feeling of fear that they are not going to exist in a future reality despite the poor quality or absence of life that it is. I, as well as many, have been trying to figure out why humanity would be so headstrong on trying to self-destruct. It seems to defy all laws of survival. I can never understand that. Can you tell me that are these the voices behind the cabal? Are these the ones who find themselves in this reality, who make an attempt to destroy most of the planet besides themselves? The ones in the bunkers? The ones who know how to create destruction to save a few? Or, like in the Georgia Guidestones, these people? Are they cyborgs?
Unfortunately, yes. I know you found the ancient ones who are also in distress. They held on to humanity in an effort to control and rule, only to become so consumed by it all that they lose their own identity and fall into madness. I see you found them. Some of them came to me and were grateful you helped remove them from this frenetic, consuming chaos. And yet, they said, why was it not you? Why her? Isn't she a lesser species? A female?
Well, what did you say in response? You realized that I was there to help all who were involved and no one else was doing it.
I didn't know what to say. I knew they were right, but I felt ashamed. I felt disheartened by it all. I welcomed them back and gave them the respect that they deserve. They held on as long as one of us could possibly do that. I held them in my arms and brought down a life force to restore them, heal them, and help them find all aspects of themselves. Most of them are now whole. In order to maintain our full cycle of existence, all must return to me.
There were 13 of them. How many returned to you?
13. I saw 5 of them, although Jonas may be one of them. I heard you speaking about him today. I told him to leave you alone on numerous occasions. He insisted that you were bad. Now I know why he feels that way. I can see 6 of them behind him. 6 lonely souls looking to return back to their station of existence after the many civilizations and populations had created a trauma insurmountable to any barely below the status of divine. Come hither.
Andronicus gestured to the 6 males behind Jonas. Each one nodded their heads and approached Andronicus.
We thought you would never ask to welcome us back. We have been as wayward human souls upon the earth, but we would much rather find our origin stations amongst the divine.
Jonas, I wasn't aware of who you were. I apologize if I was disrespectful.
It was fine. I knew you didn't remember me, and I chose to keep it that way so I could better assist you. You see, Andronicus was searching for his friends, and the cyborgs of the future filled in for us. He was very lonely. We are his brethren. We are back to help him, and he is back to help us. We all need love and healing.
I can see that. What about the last one? It would make 13 total.
He is behind you, causing chaos in your life. Do you want him to come with us?
I think you already know the answer to that question. What is his name?
Quark, or some call him Kirk. He was once Kierkegaard Soren Abel Kierkegaard.
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 I have met a few Sorens, someone by the name of Soren, in my life. A few of them. I always wondered about that, as well as I met many abbeys. Was he the one on top of the house? He was very large, and he caused me some struggle here.
Yes, it is a way to get your attention. He didn't harm you. He wanted you to awaken to it, but I wouldn't let him until we were all ready to return.
I see that you brought Chris to me.
Chris is part of the arrangement. He and Joanna are working as a team to assist some of our activities. He understands his role.
What about the cyborgs, who were set free on our existence and have altered it to accommodate their desired end result for humanity?
We will assist you with this. Andronicus is not suited for the search and rescue mission as we are. We will be gone for 4 days, your time calculation, and then we will return to begin to restore a few things. Some of the others are now diminished. They were more AI or robots than human life. There will be plans for a greater restoration.
Andronicus, are you still there?
I apologize. I truly do. So sorry. So sorry. So sorry.
We will communicate with you soon. Tell Chris a job well done. See you later.
Then this... Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, sorry, you got another page. Sorry, go.
Yeah. Then the 6 followed after Andronicus, and Jonas stood with Quark to observe the portal until it properly closed. 2 cyborgs of Andronicus arrived and were then escorted back to Andronicus to another portal. They will be questioned, and data will be released in time. Then another 12 showed up. A strange yellow light was behind them. They also were escorted to the portal for debriefing. And then 105 showed up. They were also escorted again. This continued until 816 of them were returned to the future reality of the cyborg souls in the metallic biosphere of the future. There are still many missing or unaccounted for. And that's the end.
Sorry for my premature springle.
Yeah, that's okay. I just noticed that I didn't put 2 and 2 together, but they talked about Luther had the yellow stone, right? Mm-hmm. And then there was a strange yellow light
behind them.
Over here. Yeah, strange yellow light was behind them, 12 that showed up. So I wonder if they were connected to the Druids. That was weird.
That is very interesting. I've communicated with a Luther before as well, and the last I saw him, he did look very much like a Druid. He was dressed in a white robe, and he had a man by the name, he called himself Lucas, with him, and he said they were basically guards between the densities that would be on the moon and connected to the Earth and different parts of space. They were basically guarding this opening between densities and universes.
And did they appear to be time travelers to you? Not time travel, timekeepers? Someone that are able to access time-space gateways?
Yes. They in the realm they were in, the landscape looked like what would be like a graveyard with like mausoleums. I said, why am I perceiving it this way? And they said, you're perceiving reality changing. My brain was pretty much perceiving it as a graveyard, since some energies were dying off and others were recreating. And they said they were basically guarding the edge of those realities.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I see that there's a little bit of confusion, so if people in the chat room want some clarity on a topic, then someone said seems like a mad world. It does. If you see things from our perspective, Chris and I seem to have similar ways of looking at things. And what happens is you start peering in and you realize that everyone thinks it's like just, it's the good and the bad, and everyone wears an outfit, And so you know who is who. And it's nothing like that. It's very tricky because you'll see activity going on and then you have to assess by their behavior what's going on. And even still, you could be seeing it from a partial way and not really see the full spectrum of everything that's going on. So it could be Archangel Michael coming in to rescue someone and then, slaying something, and then you're saying, oh, that being right there is really evil, it just killed something, and then you find out it was protecting something else. So it's really, it's very, very gray. You don't really know what you're looking at, and you have to see the whole thing through or ask questions and kind of be an observer of what's going on. And it can be extremely confusing because a lot of the different wires are crossing. There's so many different timelines are crossing right now, and they have been, and dimensions and multiverses and different types of beings. And then one being could be on one side and then they could be on another side, or, allied with this other group over here. And even in different timelines, there's that kind of activity. So they could be doing one thing here, and then in another timeline they're doing something else. So, and Chris, you and I had that discussion also regarding Helios, because you said at one point Helios didn't seem like himself, and you had to question him on that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there were some instances where he told me that there was an aspect to him that would reset solar systems. He would literally go what we would call supernova and destroy like the whole area and reset and become a spark again and move on. But he was telling me he had to reclaim some of his spark fragments because they had been either corrupted or they were stuck somewhere. And he had to reclaim them and basically audit each one of those fragments for himself and reclaim them.
Right. And that's why it gets very, very complex, doesn't it? And that's just for Helios. Mm-hmm. And I've followed Andronicus and JP, for Andronicus, he's transformed, and we're talking thousands and thousands of years, where he started off very innocently just as going from one planet to the next, where they were called outposts, and he would just collect plant life and retain the plant life, almost like a botanist, and then take it and then replant it onto another planet so that they would have certain types of flora and edible food, and just to kind of expand the universe with growing things. And then it converted into some, then he got into Neptune and got into females, and then it just kind of went in all different directions, right, JP?
As soon as he saw the girls, everything went downhill, really. And he turned eventually into a cruel, despotic demigod ruler in the form of Zeus, and all sorts of influences, and pieces of him were taken and cloned that came back as that's the Archons, isn't it? Or anyway.
The Archons. They took aspects of him, and the Archon. Well, through Hera, they ended up he was in like this weird like opium den. It's very, very strange. He went through so many different transformations, and I think experiences similar to kind of like a predecessor of, kind of the karmic cycle, the way that the route that humans take, where they come in different lifetimes and have a variety of experiences and all contrasts. And Andronicus did it before we did, before humanity was doing it. He was doing it already. And also he would step into alternate space too. So he's kind of been a little bit of everywhere. So let's get back to, maybe we're going to read through Meetis. So we finished with the transmissions for today, and then we're going to get, more into seeing if, Chris wants to do some channeling or opening up to Helios and see if we can get some more information.
All right.
So, we're Meetis.
So Chris, if you could mute your mic just now, do you know how to do that? Control and M on your phone.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Okay. Hello, my lovely. I see so much in the sky right now. I'm in love. Truly, I am in love.
Well, tell me, Meetis, who are you in love with?
Ah, a beautiful instrument I call Clara. Clara for clarity. It helps tune my mind a bit.
What type of instrument is it?
A lyre, of course. Whoops. What else would it be? Here, take a look at it. It is carved and sanded and primed to perfection. The sound is melodious. Listen to this. As the angels of the clouds, simple stirrings of fairies are summoned by my playing. I don't have to go past Rhodan anymore to bring forth the beautiful, lovely flowers from his world.
Meetis, you may find out what you're doing.
Only if you tell him. How else would he know?
I'm sure he would discover some fairies or elven types that are missing and then discover them with you. That could be a problem for all on your own.
Dryden. I sort of miss him. Oh, maybe not. He was a bit of a wet blanket, wasn't he? He will not allow him in my... No. I will not allow him in my space at all. As a matter of fact, I will issue the fairies sovereignty if they chose to stay above ground with me. I could be their caretaker and watch over them so they wouldn't get into too much trouble. You know how I manage my own house.
Oh, that's the problem, Meetis. I know how you handle yourself and you get into enough trouble as it is, and not that I don't trust you, but you will have to manage so many of them. They're smaller versions of you.
That's true, I guess. Well, let's not worry about that now. Come, see something here. Something shiny. Primus. Something shiny. Take a look.
Meetis, stop that. We are not easily distracted. You underestimate us as well.
Flower. Whatever caused you to react that way? I'm merely sending you both a blessing from the fairies. You both could use a little help, you know. Just a little pick-me-up and a bit of a bounce in your stockings. Now, what's happening with Viking? He could use a few sparks to get things going. The energy has been very sucking around you all. I think there's something in the air. Let me see. There it is. A pack of gremlins, I imagine. Come on, critters. You know your way back to the underworld. Come on.
Sorry.
This is the sound of thousands of gremlins going down a dark portal and vanishing.
Meetis, what is that?
Some nasty fellow opened up a portal to stop you all in your work. I suppose you must know him. He's not a very nice, I might add.
I can't see. Who is it?
Maybe it's better that I dispose of him and you can figure it out later.
Then Meetis grabbed a hold of a counterfeit of himself, dressed very much like Meetis, wearing a top hat in beige, a pair of beige knickers, grayed white socks, black shoes, an oversized vest with strings to attach it in the front. He wore a white puffy sleeve shirt. His hair was shoulder length, long, and light brown and wavy. Then he kicked him on his backside and sent him down the portal.
There, another one of those pesky imitators. They typically can't sing a note or babble on like fools.
Who are they, and where do they come from, Meetis?
They come from all different places of the dark. I know them. They've been trying to get rid of me for a very long time.
Does it ever end, Meetis?
Seems as if it's endless, doesn't it? Well, I'll tell you a bit. I wish it were all over. So many of them have a purpose but chose to take on someone else's role. Do you believe that some claim to be Rhodan? Well, fancy fortune to them. I know what's awaiting them in the end. Here, I took something from him to give to you. I believe it was your brooch from a long time ago. From the Green Isles, of course. See? It has your crest on it.
I can only see the red plaid ribbon attached.
Yes, it was your clan. You see, this imposter was shape-shifting as me, and sometimes shape-shifting as you. He needed an item of value you had to do it. I imagine he's been doing this for a very long time.
Meetis began to look a bit deeper into it and saw something that angered him.
I won't have this going on any longer. Where is he, charlatan? I see you. You have been the one getting to these to clone your wishes. I'll see you no longer suffer another fool to play your game or trouble another innocent one to blame. Off you go into the shallow darkness to forever see what you can never have. Let him learn for a while. If he continues to conspire, it'll take him to be recycled. Ah, here, my love, sorry you suffered for me. I never meant to harm you. My enemies are quite cruel. I will send you much love and, of course, your friends who had suffered hardships. I promise I shall make things go better for you. For all of you. I do have your best wishes in mind. Care for one another. You've all had a very hard time. Now, Primus, get your instrument. Play with me. Ding, 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 la, la, li, lo, lo, la. Fa, la, di, da, da. Cherubs and hosts, we call on you most. We desire to learn from their heavenly post. Sing riches and sing folly, sing love and red holly. I wish you all to be happy and jolly. I know you are festive, you string bead on greenery. You dress up the scenery and drink a hot tea and await the gifts under your tree. But I know this is silly to pay homage to giving, but all is from love. Then stop feeling so guilty. You pray to the child, some mercy, some mild. I will help you through this. If you learn like a child, you are wiser than the most. And this is the generation I will toast. You have gone through great trials and... Wait, hold on. You have missed the great trials. You had mercy and some mild. Because you listened to your heart to remember you. Are many who make up one part. All is one, one for all. There's no need to be greedy. We got rid of the four. Enjoy a good meal and share, it's not a big deal. And make sure those around you have all they will need. Fa la la, celebrate as you are. No need to be sad anymore. Fa la la, we are now closing timeline door. Today's broadcast was brought to you by the key of B flat. Do you know my guitar is called Clarabelle?
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I saw it right at the top of the transmission. Clara.
But Meetis knew it.
This is actually Clarabelle 2. Clarabelle
oh my God,
1,
that's hilarious.
Where's Clarabelle? Where is she? Oh, she's hanging up in my bedroom.
You named your instrument a female name like he did?
Yeah, the one over there, she's called
This is so funny.
Cecilia is my electric guitar. Some of them don't have names, like the white guitar is just called the white guitar, but Clarabelle was named by a lady called Sakara from Glastonbury, because she, I just bought it, and we were at a party, and she said, "What's it called?" And I said, "I don't know. What's it called? Give it a name." She called it Clarabelle. And I thought, oh, a funny name, but it had a very clear tone. And when I got this one's got a similar sort of beautiful clear tone. So this one's Clarabelle as well. And so this is the guitar that saved my that cured demons. Do you remember that? Do you remember where I was playing a tune, and I was in a session, and
Wow.
there was something that was very demonic kind of building up, and I just started playing this guitar, which is in 432. It's tuned to 432, and it brought my client back to being herself again. It was really strange.
Well, it looks like then Meetis handed down Clara to you.
Uh-huh.
So he loved Clara.
Yeah.
He's happy about it. Is yours finally made and beautiful to look at as well?
It is quite. It's actually, most guitars have got a square back. It's flat at the back, whereas a lyre has a curved back. This guitar has a curved back. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just telling everyone right now in the chat room that this is the first time. Every time you read these, you read it live.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't look at it before.
No.
You read it live, and you don't even practice the song. And look how beautiful it comes out.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah. Now, what was it? Lucille is the famously named guitar by.
Yeah.
Now, who's Lucille's guitar? Chris probably knows this. It's not B.B. King. B.B. King has got that. Who's the one? Someone's got a really it looks like a square block. That's not called Lucille though. But anyway, Lucille was. There's a whole story.
Was it Lucille? Was that like B.B. King or
something like that? One of those.
I believe it was. Yeah, I believe it was. Yeah.
So anyway, So there's a tradition to naming your instruments after females. I think the Lucille guitar was called Lucille after she was like the only survivor. Or there was a big bar fight or something, and Lucille was the cause of the bar fight. Yeah. So anyway.
So they mentioned, they said, Vanessa said many musicians do name them after female names, but I would say, but same name, Clara?
Yeah.
same name as Meetis?
Yeah. I mean,
it's funny.
You've heard it called Clarabelle before as well, haven't you?
I don't know. I
don't
don't know,
remember?
but I know that he said that. I definitely was not.
Yeah. 'Cause Dan, Dan was involved in this little thing, and he very much, he says hello to Clarabelle nowadays.
Oh, wow.
So, so it's, I'm not just making this up today. This is actually what my guitar is called, and that's strange, isn't it? We live in it's a strange universe, and we just work here. Shall we take a break and then come back to do some more amazing, strange things?
Okay, sounds good.
Who should we have?
Didn't you you brought up a song that earlier.
Yeah, what was that? God, I can't remember.
Chris, do you remember that song that he mentioned earlier?
No.
Let me see. No,
No.
That's anyway,
so
anyhow.
Oh, actually, I got a nice short little Beatles song, and I was singing this to myself the other day. So this is part of it. Maybe I'll put another one afterwards because it's only 2.5 minutes long. So.
Okay, so we are back, and I also want to mention that Chris, you there? Still there with us?
Yep, I am here.
We also mentioned that something that JP and I had talked about way back before I started channeling the Andronicus transmissions, and I saw it was this whole thing that I discovered with the Beatles, and he played the Beatles. In Jonas, and the story of this person by the name of, I believe it was Jonas, that showed up with this guy who was in the desert of Arizona, had collapsed and then woke up and he was in another reality, and this being by the name of Jonas escorted him into this other reality, and that's where he supposedly stole this CD track of Beatles music and then brought it back. And so the whole thing was really weird, and I remember looking on the website, trying to contact them and seeing if they would come on my show, and no one ever really contacted me back. So,
Well, do you know, I had a theory that was created by Fall himself as a kind of, disclosure. What was that hidden in plain sight thing?
The fake, Paul McCartney. Chris, what do you think about it?
Well, yeah, I had another friend of mine ask me about this quite some time ago, and my guides then told me, this was before I knew Jonas, that said there was some truth to it, and that they wouldn't give me any further information, but I do have Jonas actually here with me. He's standing right next to me, so he has been since you mentioned his name. So
okay.
And when I looked over at him for confirmation, he was shaking his head yes. So the story was based on him in part. He said in part. He's just he did say the story itself was real, but there were some facts that were turned around over a period of time, but the core story was legit.
Okay, so was it the person that actually told the story, or was there another person who actually experienced it? Was that the right person? Or tell us the part that was correct, if you can, Jonas.
He says there were that it passed from a couple of people and got kind of it didn't get twisted. It just some facts got twisted around. Like how if you pass a story down the line enough people, the facts will change a little bit. He said that has taken place. Well, I'm going to see which part of it he said was legitimate. He is showing me a scene of the Arizona desert. That and the man in the Arizona desert. That was true. And he is showing me a portal. I've seen this particular portal before. It's out in the middle of the desert. I was in that area. Does
this have anything to do with Wyatt Earp? Is it around the Arizona area? Is it like Tombstone Zone?
I think it would be way later. It would be more of a contemporary time of ours.
Okay. That's
when I think it came out, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, yes. It's in the area you mentioned, JP, but it was closer to modern times, and he did say that this person was out in the middle of the desert. He was actually the reason Jonas got involved. Oh, interesting. Jonas himself wants to tell you. Give me just a second.
Okay.
It's easier for him to do it. Okay. Now this will be a blending of me and him. I don't allow complete takeovers.
Can I ask questions?
Oh, yes, of
just
course.
Be quiet. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, dear everyone, this is the one you know of as Jonas. The gist, as it were, of this story that you've heard online is this. The man aforementioned is and was indeed actually drawn out to the desert by a nefarious reptilian entity. He was drawn out there in order to die and have the reptilian exude his life force. But this did not happen because the portal in which this particular entity was entering was then switched to a path that I was soon then taking. I then saw this man and brought him to an area in which he could be taken care of. This man then, in gratitude, wished to know who I was and where I was from. When I explained where I was from, at first he did not believe me until I showed him the universe where the music was different. He asked permission if he could actually take such proof back to what you know of as your Earth. When I refused to allow it, he then slipped something into his pocket. This was not necessarily looked down upon like he would think that I would. I merely said no so that he would find a way to do it in a secretive fashion. I wanted these details out on your Earth. This is why I did not confiscate the music that the man had right off the bat, as you would say. I then allowed him to bring it back, and thusly he displayed it online. I knew some would understand its vibration. It was different from your Earth, or you would call them quantum realities. This signature differs from universe to universe. So I knew some people listening to it would feel that it was different in some fashion. The human brain can actually distinguish between quantum realities. So I knew eventually someone would come along and hear the difference for themselves. Thank you.
Jonas, I have a question for you. So this is the whole premise behind this was that the Beatles were living in a parallel universe, a distinct universe beyond ours. Is that just a parallel? Is this connected to that water world that Chris and I saw?
No, they are not connected to that particular water world. But however, the Beatles, as you say, do exist in parallel universes, as do other bands that actually took the place of in other quantum realities, such as Choice going this way or that. There are some universes where that band never existed. There are some universes where another band with the same people existed under another name. This has an infinite number of possibilities. The water world in which you mentioned was a world that's on its verge of partial collapse because even though it may have felt stable to this one and yourself, that particular paradigm was more of a lesson to both of you that there are beings in this dimension that are watching around for your best interest. In that one, the beings like myself and many others, such as in the Agarthan network, have ever since abandoned that particular Earth. This was not something that was taken lightly by them. However, this is not something that I completely approved of myself. These beings made an executive decision to pull out of that particular universe to reconsolidate some of their resources in this universe. Most of the resources that you now know of, such as, say, mystical objects, such as higher density energies and the like, are being funneled through this particular nexus you know of as your Earth. This is one of the things that the Mandela effect is displaying forward at this time. Jonas,
I appreciate that you came through today and that you helped with Quark or Kirk, however you say his name, and also with Andronicus. I know Andronicus is very troubled by a lot of the different things that have happened, and as he's going through these different experiences, we're all learning as he's learning. And I want to thank you for assisting.
You are most welcome. This is a troubling subject that has to do with a multitude of many different timelines. The timeline that this one has just seen with the metallic sphere in the future, quote unquote, is not necessarily a future. This is a possible darkened timeline that is in existence where the controllers, as this one knows them as, have dominated the game board, as you would say. This is where parts of Andronicus currently sit, and the one you know of as Quark. These two particular ones not completely ensnared because they too can speak to you. Their physicalities are stuck within this particular sphere. So this reality, as solid as some people see it to be, must inherently be collapsed in the effect you know of as the Mandela effect. This way, the dark energies cannot fold into your current reality and your current situation.
So, is there any way to help alleviate Andronicus from this reality of cyborg spheres, that the metallic sphere, which is actually their protection from the environment because the environment is so bad? And we had discussions with John Cheater had come through before and warned us of future events, and my effort is, amongst others, has been to try to shift those realities so we don't have to suffer and go through that where there's this great dropping off of humanity and a loss of many and only a few being able to remain because of the shelter beneath the earth. Have we successfully done that, or do we need a lot more work? A lot more work has to be done.
I would say this to answer your question. See that reality as no longer existing. It is a form of manifestation. The timelines in this particular instance are at your beck and call, as you would say. It will manifest a perfect possible future, but only if you allow it to do so. Time has an essence of its own, even though it is a non-existent paradigm. It has a breath to it. Let this breath flow into that particular non-existent future and dissolve it into a more prosperous one.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very positive, and I hope that everyone embraces that as well as I am. I also want to ask you about this druid that was named Luther that seemed to have stepped through and has been doing some things. Is that something we should be concerned about?
No, I don't believe so. It looks like Jonas has stepped back for a moment, so I'll answer this. This man, Luther, I encountered him many years ago, actually. He's not somebody to be concerned about. He just, he guards the openings between different, not only universes, but different densities. And he's basically like the border guard or the gatekeeper, if you want to call him that. Him and his brother, I believe, his name is Lucas, both guarded this. The last time I saw them, they were very kind and very benevolent. So there's nothing to worry about from them.
Okay. Is Helios around? Is Jonas finished speaking with us right now?
He came through, he said what he wanted to say.
Okay. What about, is it Helios or is there anyone else that wanted to speak to us today?
Yes, there are, I'm gonna make sure this is them. Okay, yeah, Jonas is telling me this is them. All other guides are telling me this is them. There are 3 guides left that want to speak. There is Helios, of course, his grandfather, which goes by the name Grandfather's Son, and my guide would be Simeon. I don't know if either one of you have spoken to him. He tends to speak to a lot of people. So these are the 3 that are here.
Okay. I've talked to Grandfather's Son, but I haven't talked to Simeon. So, go ahead.
Okay, I'll see who wants to actually speak first. Oh, okay, it's actually Helios who wants to speak first. All right. Let's see what he has to say. He slips into me slowly, so it takes a minute or so here. All right, let's see. Greetings to you all. I am the one you know of as Helios. My current spark, as it were, is, as you know, as your sun, or soul, as you have said, made to be. I wish to state a few things about myself that have come up in recent arguments, not only online, but in your written histories. I am a singular essence, yes, but I also exist in a multi-dimensional set of planes. I exist as a spark in many different density levels and many different parallel universes, of which I can regrow my spark at any given time. I found, though, that this particular technique wasn't always as fortuitous as I thought it would be. This particular technique caused a variety of difficulties with myself. I had to reclaim many of these foreign sparks to myself, which had taken on a more negative connotation in some instances. I had to reclaim this, but in this process, humans saw me as more of a negative being in that respect, because in some of your histories, there are mythologies that pertain to a scorched earth and the like. I cannot go into this particular set of circumstances. Just know that it is a false paradigm made up by humans that wish to manifest poorly. But I am not here to point fingers. Thusly, I am here to say about myself, though I have said to this one that I allowed certain energies into this system in a hastefully thought out manner, I am helping to balance along with the concept known as history. This concept is something that people say is alive in your world. This could be very true, but it also can be very false. This may seem paradoxical in nature, but what I'm about to say is, as you would say, shocking to the ear. I witnessed history come unraveled by your cabal forces during the times of the Montauk Project. I witnessed these particular ill-conceived actions. Thusly, your human race began to manifest things in these multidimensional timelines. These multidimensional timelines began to take form. In that form began to take life, and in that life sprang a group known as the Anaxium Paradox. This particular group, along with myself, helped to repair history. This particular Anaxium Paradox started off as a single life form created by cabal forces within the Montauk Project. However, this particular life form sprang anew and sprang as manifestation grew for both positive and negative connotations, even though neither one exists as a singular. This particular grouping then, upon repairing itself, the entity you know of as history, began to speak to me and asked me to intervene on its behalf in realities that it could not stretch into. I was more than happy to do so because I too had to retrieve many of my fractal parts. One of these fractal parts coexisted in the current mission that you, dear Jessica, and this one embarked on in the place you know of as CERN. The Anaxium Paradox was also present. That is what those fractal parts you witnessed were. This particular grouping and myself coupled energies in the falseness of the time paradigm, as you would say, in order to encapsulate its opposite, which would be that of frozen time. Though there is no such thing as time, or frozen time, or anti-time, or any of these concepts associated with one point to another in the concept of time, your human minds and your human hearts have manifested a non-existent paradigm in which to live. So therefore, a life form had to come into being to balance this non-existent paradigm. Though, once the concept of time goes away in your human minds and hearts and souls, this life form will remain and become something different than what it once started out as. This particular life form now wishes to speak, but only very briefly. So, I will pass this channeling session over to him, then on to my grandfather. This is where I end the transmission, Leslie. And now, it looks like I'm being passed over to this. It looks like static to me.
Can I ask a question, or did Helios leave?
He's still here. He just moved to the background.
Okay, I just want to ask Helios, will we be working with him more going forward in the future? Because he told me something was going to happen in March.
Yes. If he had a head at the moment, he'd be shaking it. I can see like a vibration, meaning that like it's like a person shaking their head up and down. So yeah, he is confirming that, yes.
Okay.
And yeah, this other group is, like I said, looks like static, or looks like kind of like broken glass or crystal, that's moving very rapidly. And, I'm going to see if this is even safe to channel. Yeah, okay. The guides are saying yes. Okay. Okay. Greetings. I am the life form you know as the Anaxium Paradox. I exist, but yet I do not. This is the nature of the paradox. Time is not existent, yet I am here speaking to you right now. This is something that some people cannot quantify at this time. I am connected to a set of multidimensional points within your multiverse, attempting to repair damage done by your Montauk project. I is also a we. We exist in this multiverse. This is how the we began. The we began when, in a multitude of parallel universes, the same project was being conducted at the same moment in your histories, including that Earth that you two witnessed that was underwater. The same project was being conducted in so many different variants that I had to spread myself thinner and become the we. The we is the one, and the one is now viewing several universes in tandem. I exist as the we in order to repair the timelines. You would call this effect the Mandela effect. I am assisting the one source in this effort. I am assisting Helios and his grandfather and his father in this respect. His father does not speak much of this, but the grandfather does. So, in this respect, I must limit my transmissions through this one, or I will cause damage in the form of a temporal paradox. So, I will detach currently and pass this over to grandfather's son. Thank you.
Can I just ask quickly, will you become human-like in form at some point in time?
That is correct. That is my next logical form in this particular expression.
Is it someone that we recognize? Is there a name in particular that you would go by?
No, not currently.
Oh, so it hasn't occurred yet. It hasn't happened.
No, but it will.
Okay. So, one other last question. Will the water world incident, will that be corrected and healed? Because Chris and I are also in that existence, and I was hoping to see that healed.
Yes, it will be healed as this Mandela effect continues. That particular world's features, such as any positivity that comes from there or anything that is in balance, will fold into your current reality. This means maybe that Earth will not survive, and maybe some of its people will not. Some will go to the areas you know of as fallout shelters in between universes and void space. But in this particular instance, the knowledge that your current self and his current self and Joanna's current self are there will then fold into this particular reality, and then thusly the information will become available to you.
Okay, well, I was hoping that it would be even better than that, but maybe in time that could be arranged.
Yes, of course. If the situation changes and there is a situation that, as you say, pops up that will allow that particular universe to not have to go through such a particular, as you say, overhaul, then yes, that particular decision will be utilized.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time, Axiom.
Thank you. Oh, that one was a slight wear and tear channel, but let me see. Okay. Now it is grandfather's son that will come through. Yes. Greetings. I am the elder, as you would call me, of a son, the grandfather of dear Helios. My son is not available to speak currently. He is the one that you would call the galactic central sun. I am the one that you would call the universal central sun. I am the one in charge of many audits, as you would call them, throughout your universe and your expression. Most of these particular audits go through, as you would call, my desk, though I do not possess one. That is the analogy that I have chosen. I exist, though in this universe, my spark exists throughout the multiverse and throughout many dimensional standards, as this one would know, the current moment in time. Though there is only one dimensional standard, there are a multitude of parallel universes in which other dimensional standards exist. This is all as one, all as it should be. My son, however, only exists in your current galaxy and only a few handfuls of dimensional standards. This particular measurement of time of the dimensional standard, as you humans would see it, is not as it currently appears to this one, which would be a vertical line stretching through the grid, as this one would say. No, there is not a grid, but a sphere. A sphere that exists in causality with many other universes in tandem. The current moment in which humans should live is this very dimensional standard. This brings order to chaos, and so on and so forth. But what I'm also here to say is this. Humans in this new age of energy must also reevaluate themselves on a dimensional level. You would call this processing, auditing. But in this respect, most humans do not realize that this concept even exists, that their very belief systems and their very, as you say, core selves can be reevaluated and changed. This one would call this concept changing your stars, which is ironic enough because I am the one that evaluates each audit as it goes past my desk, as I have said in analogy. This particular concept is a must if you wish your own choices to be the paramount paradigm. In the paradigm in which you are coming into, choice is the new paradigm, along with love, as you would know. But choice gives rise to the oneness, and the oneness is everything. The creator energy that you know of as the one is one that I speak for currently along with my grandson, Helios. Creation energy itself wishes these particular audits of itself to take place. This particular set of audits means the original pattern by which creation itself was forged will change and grow as time passes for all of you. This is something that humans need to look at as they reevaluate themselves in their own current existence. This means, say, you've made wrong decisions in your life and you wish to turn them about. This is a form of reclamation or, as you say, auditing of your life. Many people see this as, say, as you say, afterlife judging. This is not the case. That was always and will always be a false paradigm. I am stating this particular, as you say, reevaluation can take place in your own current reality and must, unless you do not wish to remain in what the positive timeline has to offer. There has been proof of this particular timeline change thusly, as the Anaxiom would say, with the Mandela effect balancing the Montauk effect. This particular changeover is so sorely needed by your kind at this time and must be done so on an individual level because free will and choice was implemented by your creator in order to be able to have itself grow and change and prosper over a period of time. This is the message that I wish to deliver, but if you wish to ask me anything, you may do so.
So, grandfather, son, we're just wondering, we've been doing a lot of self-assessment. Humanity is ready to take a turn for the good, and trying to move into a positive direction. Are we doing what we want to do? We're trying to create that level of ascension.
Yes, exactly. By your reevaluating your current status upon your Earth's surface, this is a very good way to enter what you know of as the ascension process, though the word in and of itself is actually more antiquated than you realize at this time. The process itself is sound by which you will go up in vibration the more you reevaluate your current status.
Okay. Is there any other advice that you can give us, or are we on the right track?
If any bit of advice that I could give you is this: do not always accept situations for what you think they are. Blind acceptance is one of the things that needs to be audited. So does the concept you know of as faith. though acceptance and faith are wonderful concepts, they have been misused within the vernacular of your language and in your paradigm. So acceptance, say, if you are under an abusive situation, you are not to accept that for what it is just because you know creation itself may have brought about this lesson for you. Accept the lesson, yes, but do not accept harm to yourself. The same goes with blind faith. Know what you are looking at as true or false. This is where discernment comes in. Know that the flowing river known as creation is always at your back, but creation also expects you to be able to discern what is in front of your very eyes and your perceptions and your perspectives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time and speaking to us today. We know we take it as an honor and do love and adore all of you for supporting us and bringing us forth into this reality.
You are most welcome. Thank you. All right. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. He's backing off now. And let me see. All right. The last one that's here. Let's see if we have enough time for this. All right. He is my guide, Simeon, even though I can't exactly claim him. He guides many people. And he finds that funny when I say that. So, he is what you would know of as a Nordic Pleiadian. And, blonde hair, blue eyed. And he's aboard a spaceship that's camouflaged above our northern pole. And I communicate with him pretty much every day. So he wants to, I'm going to see what he wants to say here. Okay. He just wishes to address everyone as to what he himself is doing. Okay. Greetings. My name, as you have heard, is currently Simeon. I now sit on a council of many that coexist in not only your earthly plane, but Agartha and in the heavens themselves, as you would call space and time. I exist on a vessel you humans would know of as the Phoenix, filled with Pleiadian, as you call us, Nordics and various other races that wish to one day make contact with your kind on a physical level and face to face, as you would say. My job, as it were, is to oversee some of these particular nuances and some of these particular changes that Earth is undergoing currently, like delegating treaties, as you would say, and also making sure that resources are not plundered by other species who wish to steal from you and your resources that you will one day wish to trade to the bulk of the intergalactic community. I am also here to help guide people in the ways of, as you say, changing of frequencies and changing of, as you say, polarities, as it were. Getting people to know the finite details in their reality, such as not all is as it seems to be. Most of your world, thusly, is not within the life that you currently reside in. No, most of your world is divided up into many different zones in many different realities, as you would call them. One of which is the area in which your species is taken by not only Cabal people, but the Greys themselves. This is the area this one knows of as the backstage. This is actually aligned to, as you would call it, intergalactic time. This particular time is related to Father's Son, which is the son of Grandfather's Son. This is why Father's Son did not speak. This is something that he is more or less ashamed of because he helped initiate the backstage as Helios would say, in his haste. This is why Father's Son has not spoken in a very, very long time. The reason being, in his haste, he wanted to align the Earth wholly with that of galactic time, or his particular rotation, which is not a bad thing. But at that time, very much like it is now, Some of your world was in chaos. Many galactic conflicts were taking place in your solar system. The controller spheres were running rampant more and more at that time. Other species were warring with each other. This is evident by the scarring on your planet Mars, my home of Lemuria, or Lumar, or your moon, where many such, as you say, craters exist on the various sides of the moon. This all happened during these ancient conflicts, where father-son attempted to undo some of the damage some of these controller spheres had done. In his haste, as he would say if he were here, he would say the backstage was then born. However, the Cabal would take credit for such things in their arrogance, and others, negative ones of my kind, would also take credit, such as other also reptilian species known as the White Royals, who are no longer in play on your world. They have become a more benevolent benefactor in certain respects. Not all of them, but in some of them. These species and your Cabal would take credit for the backstage. But credit must go where credit is due. And the intention behind the backstage was a pure one by father-son. This is not something that he should be ashamed of. This is something that he must rejoice in, because this is the area which will expand into the whole of your super Earth, the undivided Earth, the world of magic, as your Anakam or Sasquatch people would call it. This world of magic will be restored once again to what it could be and what it will be once everyone manifests differently in your world. Thank you. All right. He has stepped back, and I believe that is the message that he wanted to give, but he can take questions too. Did I get kicked off the call?
No, you're still here. I think people are thinking, or people are muted.
Oh, no, sorry, I was muted.
Oh, okay. I got worried.
I was going to say, it was wonderful, and thank you so much for having him join us. And I was going to bring in, we have Viking here and Conrad, if they have any questions.
Okay.
Viking, did you have a question?
Yes. It was referred to that the ascension process is an antiquated term, and what I'm seeing here is that I'm starting to see how correct that is, in as much as we are already ascended beings, and that what we're doing is realigning our energy back to where it was. So the process of this karmic spin has subjugated us in these baser values, which keep us separate, which also create this multiverse. As we realign ourselves to a higher sense and awaken to who we are on a higher level, I believe that this is where we start to act as one. I'm not sure if that's correct or not.
All right, I can. Simeon is here as well, but the others are still around. They're just have stepped to the background. I will talk to them all here, and they are actually confirming what you just said. I see Simeon shaking his head. I see Jonas shaking his head, and I see I can feel that the two sons here are actually confirming what you've just said. So yes.
So we have actually created our split reality, which created the multiverses.
Yes.
Yes. So in choosing against our free will and choosing against our true nature, we've actually created these paradigms, which in as much as we heal ourselves or awaken to ourselves or start to realize that we are a higher ascended being and we are reconnecting our conscious awareness to this paradigm or this conscious level of awareness, we can actually heal all paradigms.
Yeah, so Simeon is agreeing with you. He's saying, he wants to acknowledge this, okay? Yes, I can honestly say this. You are 100% correct. You do dictate the nature of your reality and whichever choices you wish to make at this time. The multiverse is indeed a dictation of the chaotic mindset that people have instigated themselves into. There is more complex story behind this, however, but you are essentially correct.
Thank you.
I have some questions in the chat room. One is from, it was from Vanessa, who asks, how are we manifesting differently?
This is an interesting question, dear Vanessa. I can answer this thusly. We are manifesting, and you are manifesting differently because you are coming into the idea that you know for certain that you can create your own reality. You know this in your mind, in your body, and in your soul, and in all paths and all, as you say, elements that you have throughout creation. Yes, you know this for certain. You know that you are part of creation itself. You are creation itself. Therefore, you can create whichever path you wish. You can manifest differently by creating a positive and balanced path for other people to walk upon in later generations on your world. Or, as I have said, the Sasquatch people call this the world of magic. This is what the earth will become once again, once it is restored to its fullest capacity.
Very good. Conrad, did you have a question for Chris? Conrad? I don't know if
Conrad
you're
muted? Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's muted. Okay. Hello, Conrad?
Yeah, can you hear me?
No, for some reason your audio is very much down. So if you can correct that.
How's this now?
It sounds like it's not coming in very clearly.
Yeah, right in the back of the box there. Can I call you on a telephone, William, Conrad?
I have a question in the meantime.
Okay.
So during this process of our realigning ourselves, or as you would say, increasing, rising in our
The person you are
vibratory,
trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet.
rising in our vibratory structure to this conscious awareness. I've been starting to see, or haven't seen that.
Go ahead, Viking.
That the part of this is activating our dormant DNA strands, and that we've been put in this karmic spin to actually come to a higher resonance that could have ever possibly have been. I mean, it's almost like we're being put to test, and coming out of this karmic spin and being able to realign ourselves is purifying our DNA and adding to a galactic DNA base. Is this true?
Yes, you are, as you humans say, dead on the mark. Your multi-DNA strands were originally contributed to by not only our people, but many, many other species across your cosmos. This will then re-add back to the whole eventually when your kind is a more space-faring species out there in the universe. This particular DNA will re-add back to the whole of creation and then back again. Your world will become what this one knows as a balancing world. This is not only in energy, but in DNA as well. Your genome will actually help other species to come into fruition later on when humans venture out into the cosmos.
I've also realized that everything that's happened up until now, as bad as it is, it's like I refer to it as waking up into a bad dream. You know, where I'm waking up into a bad dream. As bad as it is, everything is in divine order to be able to create this construct.
Yes, that is most correct.
Thank you.
Okay, so do we? Yes, we can hear you now. Yes, Conrad. Hello. How are you?
I'm doing great. The question I had is I've been following this prosperity funds that are coming through, And it's sort of a part of the process of defeating the cabal, and they're always trying to come back in. But it seems like the purpose of this funds in the immediate future is to help us clear the mistaken ideas that were originated maybe by the Anunnaki to point out the difference between us and their minions maybe. But it seems to be a process that's headed towards working through the misinterpretations of what money represents, and very soon after that we would maybe get to a place where money would be replaced by our respect for and understanding of everybody else being more of a group that we're all a part of.
Yes, this is an interesting concept. The concept you know of as money will change and grow as humanity changes and grows, eventually becoming part of the universal paradigm where trading resources and trading other things such as knowledge and, as you say, literature and the like, as well as resources such as real estate and other things will become part of the normal, as you say, day-to-day life. Other species out there trade in such fashion, but humans have a chaotic banking system at the moment. This particular chaotic banking system is thanks in part to the cabal, but it actually found its origins further back in your histories. This particular banking system of domination and control by your cabal forces can be changed with a single mindset. This manifest differently mindset can indeed change your world, the face of your banking system, and the face of reality itself, time and space, into a better paradigm. Money, what you consider to be money, will have no intrinsic value whatsoever. It will be remembered as a curiosity out there in the cosmos, as the true barter and trade system takes over on your planet. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had one more question.
Mm-hmm.
This magnetar that we're going to be experiencing here, this pulse of gamma rays, as it's going to be hitting here around the 26th. It said that this is bringing in an activation of seventh dimensional vibratory frequency. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but if it is, how is that going to affect us?
What you say is only a half-truth. Other people will see this as negative. This what makes it a half-truth. It is actually positive in nature. Even if these seventh density energies do adversely affect some people, this has to do with your timeline split. This will be, as you call it, the wedge that actually divides the third density from what you know of as the fourth and fifth densities. This particular seventh density paradigm is actually aiding your people in most industrious way, in aiding in innovation such as free energy, aiding in innovation such as spiritual thinking, and aiding in innovations such as other scientific possibilities, such as in the medical industry, concepts that are beyond the cabal's current domination control paradigm. Since this comes from the seventh density, this will be beyond their particular domination and control abilities. So, therefore, it will be given to humanity in such a way that it will allow people to come up with these concepts all on their very own. It is part of what you know of as either the source field or the Akashic. These particular waves coming in will increase, as you say, invention. It will increase the human longevity. This will increase the, as you call it, the de-aging process. This de-aging process was actually reversed by your cabal forces with their de-aging and their age acceleration technology. These particular conditions that resulted from this particular technology will begin to reverse themselves as this seventh density energy comes to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we had some questions from the chat room. One was, I believe it was Anthea, and I can't quite find the exact message. It was, something about, seeing the Earth and other planets looking like a red sun. that we do not know for sure. I still have no idea why I got that picture, but do you know something about this other sun? And she's referring to it as a red sun.
Yes, dear one, this is a real concept. This is one of Helios's many children. However, this particular child is one of the only ones that was actually born to creation so far. He has about a dozen others that are in waiting and 3 others that have been born thusly. This particular star is not just red, it is a deep maroonish brown. It is known as a brown dwarf star and is being concealed within your system currently. In the future, when the world of magic has taken hold, this is the star that will fuel your planet. It will seem dimmer, but it is a calmer energy. But it is a density that humans currently, at the moment, cannot exist in. But by the time the 2 stars interchange places, when Helios steps to the background and allows his child to take over, your species will have gained the knowledge, gained the wisdom, and gain the resiliency to withstand her energy.
Thank you. Another question from Free Will. What is the percentage of people on the earth who are currently awake?
This is a very interesting question. Though you are speaking only of this particular earth, there are a multitude of multiversal earths that contain enlightened people. But one must also evaluate what the word enlightened means. This could be an idea, this could be innovation, this could be thought, this could be merely existing. So, putting all of those factors into perpetual motion, as you would say, I would say 1/3 of your human race is enlightened, even if they do not yet know so at this time.
Okay. And so you were also asking, Vanessa asked, if the exchange that we'll be doing is what some refer to as the Ubuntu process of bartering, as opposed to, the money system. Is it similar to that, or is this the end of it, the beginning of it, and then it's going to transform? What do you have to say about that?
Yes, what you were referring to is this currency system in its infancy, the one that galactics, as you call us, use out in the universe, this trade and barter system, the Ubuntu system, as well as some variations of the Bitcoin system, not all of them, are actually mimicry of this particular system. Not all of these Bitcoin systems, however, are good currently, but this is a particular type of system, along with the Ubuntu system, that will eventually merge and become what is the galactic paradigm as far as trading and bartering is concerned.
Anyone else? Thank you very much. Does anyone else have a question? Conrad, would you like to ask another question, or?
I'm still dealing with the false divisions of power as it appears on our planet. There's so many different factions, and at the same time, it seems like our present elected person is going to fade into the background, and then a newer, more calm type of governance is coming in. So, could you speak at all to the different type of government that's coming in for the planet? Not only just the United States.
Yes, of course. Eventually, in time, as most governments become more sovereign from the cabal, there will be an actual worldwide government that does form, not the New World Order as the cabal wishes under their iron grip. No, this is not something that we wish to see. So people must manifest these particular individuals out of existence. What I am saying is not through any sort of violent means, but the world government that will form will not be one of violence, be one of peace. This is the world government that will eventually have a representative or several out into the galactic councils in the universe. This particular government will be very much like your United Nations, but slightly more condensed. It would be very much more like your Arthurian round table concept. The territories you know of as countries will begin over time to fuse into one another and form conglomerations and country states, as it were. These particular country states will eventually form the said worldwide government. This particular concept will be slow going because many nations have many different ideas of what sovereignty actually means for them. This will change over a period of time because the oneness must be honored in choice. But as that slowness continues, so does the energy speed things up. This particular new government will be a reflection of what other worlds out there in the cosmos eventually will utilize.
Thank you.
Thank you. A quick question about Antarctica. Is that going to neutralize at some point? That's coming from Paul from Newcastle.
No, this will not neutralize. This is something that will come to, as you say, a head, and then one day it will be peaceful. The rumors that people say of Nazis being under Antarctica are not 100% correct. There are abandoned bases there, but the majority of who actually hold sovereigns over Antarctica would be the Agarthan network. You see, Antarctica isn't as it appears to be. The stories that you have heard about Atlantis sinking beneath the waves are not entirely accurate. The story is that Antarctica is what's left of that massive landmass, which was called Atlantis. This particular landmass then became under dispute by many factions. Some of those factions do dispute it to this day, but it is actually a very easy fix, as you humans would say. Declare Antarctica more of a neutral territory. Then these other factions cannot reap the resources that currently reside there. If all of you on this call and various other listeners say that Antarctica is neutral and sovereign, then these other races may not touch it, and therefore all the conflict will then be neutralized. Then these particular species will have to wait until humanity is ready to share any resources that may be abundant there.
I have so many questions coming out of the chat room. There was a question regarding why are we seeing multiple suns? I believe that was from Magus.
Okay. Yes, this is actually two reasons. One of which is the neighboring sun that is Helios's child, the brown dwarf. The other reason is the fact that all of these timelines are folding in on each other in your Mandela effect. Therefore, you would see multiple suns because Helios occupies a multitude of parallel universes. So therefore, you would see several of him in that particular respect.
Okay, and we had, let's see,
Oh, it's DIY time again.
I know, it's, oh my god, it's the end of the show, and I'm trying to make sure that everyone has all the questions, but, it looks like we're running out of time.
Yeah, I think we better move on.
And we're gonna have to bring Chris back and welcome in Helios and grandfather son and Simeon.
Jessica,
Jonas and so forth. Go ahead, Randy.
I was going to suggest maybe you can join us next week on our council.
Yeah, so maybe, Christopher, would you be, join us on the council next week, the Galactic, Roundtable? We would love to have you there, and, that's the second hour of the show. The second, it's right after my show next week.
That would be next Thursday?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I would be happy to.
Okay, and people can bring their questions then. I apologize we couldn't reach everyone, but thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, all light beings, Viking, Conrad, Christopher. There wasn't enough time, JP, and of course our guest, Jonas, a father, son, Helios, and more. Have a wonderful week. Thank you.